Okay, so let's start with a brief introduction to the CommanderOne user interface. So when you log into CommanderOne for the first time, you'll be presented with a screen like this, where you'll see a map of your siren sites on the screen, and you'll also see some areas along the top and bottom and sides that are going to give you some information and allow you to get into some menus. Now we're going to break down these menus as we go, and there'll be some further videos for these, but let's just go through some of the basics here. When you take a look at your siren sites and your CCUs, and your CCUs are your commander stations, and your RTUs are your siren sites, you're going to see the status of those. Now, since I have my commander running, I see a green status on my CCU. Now, this is great. So that means my commander system is talking to CommanderOne. Now, if it wasn't, I would be able to get into the site, but I would see a red status here. And also along the bottom, and this is a first area we'll go into, the dashboard along the bottom will show the CCU and multiple CCUs if I have them, whether they're online or offline. And they're going to show a green status or a red status. And this status gets refreshed periodically. So you're going to see the status of this. And if you need to refresh this manually, you can always click this little circle icon and you can get your status refreshed right then. So looking at your sites, you can now what you can do with CommanderOne as opposed to Commander in the map screen is you can get into each one of these sites. You can click on the site and you can get a little bit of, you can refresh the status of it, and you can also activate. So if you wanted to activate just a particular siren, you can click on that siren, just left click, and then you can say activate. And it's going to give you a screen that you can bring up your functions. You can say, well, I want to play a whale, and I'm going to activate that. Or you can also click on that site and refresh the status. Now, if we right-click on our siren sites, it gives us an option to get the coordinates of that site, but it also gives us the status detail of that site. So we get the site number and a lot of various details depending on the site. So if the site has inputs, outputs, if the site has anything else, a battery, a charger, anything like that, we can see that the same way we can see inside Commander. Along the left side of the screen, we have 3 tabs. Now these 3 tabs are used for management of your sites and your organizations, drawing polygons on the screen, circles, freeform polygons, squares, and also for map layers. So we're going to go through each one of these individually. So if we have multiple regions, for instance, I have a demo site here with a central, a east, and a west region, I can choose to view and only show those sections, those RTUs and those CCUs on the site. So if I unclick this, I'm going to get rid of everything. If I unclick this, I'm definitely going to get rid of everything. So this is a visibility type of mechanism where you can see more or less depending on what you want to do at that particular time. Your drawing tools down below are for you to draw a rectangle, a polygon, which is going to be a freeform polygon, a circle, or resize any of these shapes, and you can also click on a couple things to get gauges and status detail. So you can turn off the gauge at the bottom, you can turn off the status if you'd like. So this is your area for you to draw polygons and things like that. We'll get into drawing the polygons and activating with polygons when we get into our video on activation, but this is where that user interface lies. Also, we have some things to view whether you have visibility, your AccuWeather polygons, or the weather layer, or any user-defined areas or shapes that you have on your screen. So the weather layer is visible at certain zoom levels. So if we zoom out here enough, that we can see that there's a little bit of snow in the area today. And as we zoom in a little bit, to keep the map uncluttered, we make this layer go away at a certain zoom level. So I'm going to move over here into LaPorte, Indiana, where there's some snow going on today, and I'm going to zoom in. And once you hit a certain zoom level, to keep the map uncluttered, we'll remove that weather layer. If you want to see it, you can just simply zoom out. So the weather layer is beneficial for those customers that are municipalities or have large areas that they need to monitor and activate. So let's zoom back in to our area and let's take another look at that. So if I wanted to turn that weather layer off, I can just as easily turn that weather layer off, and now I don't see that weather at all. So we like having weather, so we're going to turn that back on. So you can see the weather here, and that weather gets refreshed at intervals. It's not a motion graphic, but it is a good way to see the incoming storm and see your siren status at the same time. So this being a test system, my sirens aren't working here, but if this was a live system, I might be in some trouble if I had to activate. My sites don't look like they're communicating. So moving up to the top, we have the ability to change map views, and we'll go into map views. We'll go into each one of these a little more detail, but this is kind of just your basic user interface tutorial. So if you have any organizational views set up for any of your regions or things like that, you can see them here. If you have personal views, now personal views are my way to view the siren system. So if I want to look at the siren system and I want to be zoomed in on just this one site or just this one region, I can select and set a personal view, and I'm going to update my view here, and I'm going to set that as my new view. So I'm going to update this. I can make this a new view, and I can call this anything I want. I can create a new view. I can save this as another view if I'd like to. It's nice about this is that if I want to just have one area of my map that I'm interested in or that I have purview over, then I can set that area for me and me only. So that's why we call it a personal view. Now you can also set some things on this map, like whether or not you're using a road view like I am right here, or an aerial view. So if you want to do an aerial view, it's going to, of course, be what you're familiar with from Google Maps or Bing Maps as a satellite view. So here we've decided to put one of our sirens in the middle of a cornfield, or in the middle of a field here. But you can kind of see on the map that you can specify whether or not you have a road view or a map view, or I'm sorry, or a satellite view. So what's nice about this is when you save that view, it saves everything about that view parameter and gets added to that saved view. Along the top, I can also poll all my sites. If I wanted to get status on all my sites, I can do a poll. Then I can say initiate a poll, which is going to go out and check the status of my sirens, and I can activate. Now, we have activation functions that we're going to get into here in another video, but here's where you would activate hotkeys, manual activations, macros, and messaging. And a new addition to the system, we have a demo mode. Now, there's a separate video on demo mode and how that is and what that works, but it is a way for you to test and use the system without actually activating the siren. So it's actually like a training demo mode. So here I would have hotkeys that I can activate, and these hotkeys are reflected with what's in my commander system. Like I said, we'll go over activation a little bit later. And then we have our reports menu, and this is going to bring up our reports. And here I have, for several regions, I can start and end date on my reports, and I can view different quick status reports that we have. So what we can also do is refresh the whole screen, and along the top here, or almost complete, is there's a user profile area. So this is for me to set any of my parameters like language, if that's activated on my account. So we have some built-in languages that we've had the translations for, and we can change the user interface. So hopefully I can get my way out of Mandarin, but we can switch over to Mandarin, for instance, and now our page will be in Mandarin. So user interface elements, things that would match words that are in Chinese or in Mandarin, would change. So I can go over here and I can select the language. I can change it back to English so I can continue my demo. And you can also set things like your about your user profile. So if you want to specify that map view to be your map view when you come into the system every time, you can set here, and you can go into your map view and you can change your map view to whatever it is. So if it's central, if I created a new map view, I can add that, or all regions or whatever. Change your password, change your questions, things like that. So that's a brief overview of the CommanderOne user interface. We're going to get into some other videos on activation, on AccuWeather, and some other functions that we have in the system. Thank you.